Making a decision about your relationship is never easy, but you don't have to do it alone. Inside The Decision, the only place where I offer direct coaching, I help women just like you navigate the uncertainty of their marriage. Today, I'm opening the doors and sharing a behind-the-scenes look at a real Q&A session. In this episode, you'll hear real questions, real coaching, and real breakthroughs. Whether you're facing a tough decision or just seeking clarity, I hope this gives you exactly what you need to take your next step.
So the soon-to-be ex, your question was really like, okay, how do I keep taking the high road when like he's just not anywhere near that, basically, right?
Yes.
Remaining on the high road when you discover financial betrayal and skills in leading your spouse through the process, even when they have had horrid behavior, which he's had. So at first I was like, oh gosh. But then I was like, no, I actually have a really good answer for this. You might have heard me talk about this before, but it's simple, but it's kind of to me, it's a big deal. And when you start putting how you feel ahead of almost everything, it changes how you live. So there's how you feel about how you handled a situation. Like, do I feel good about how I handled the situation? Which I think that makes logical sense to everyone. But there's a little bit of like, even taking the high road feels like a should more than like I really want to, right? And anything we're doing out of shoulds or obligations never really sticks anyway. So there's how do I feel about how I handled the situation? But more than that, it's how do I literally feel as I move through my day? When you put that above everything, like it's almost like if you think about how most people wake up in the morning, right? They wake up, they have some idea of what their day is going to be like. They might be looking forward to the day. They might be dreading it. They might feel completely neutral about it. And they just kind of go into their day seeing what the day holds for them. So they make their coffee, they get in their cars, they go to work, they get in a traffic jam, someone honks at them, like whatever it is, right? The day sort of gets a hold of you, and then we react to the circumstances around us. But when you start the day from a perspective of, you know what, I'm just going to feel as good as I can feel given the circumstances of my life. It doesn't mean like, I know why this is an example right now because I'm sitting here in Columbus, Ohio, which is my old home. But like I could just be sad 24/7 because my mom has dementia. I think a lot of like, I could justify that 20 ways to Sunday. I could get all of you nodding at me and going, yeah, that really sucks. But it's a horrible way to live. And I don't want to live like that. So I choose to find thoughts that help me feel better about it because I care about how I feel. It doesn't make it go away. And it's not burying my head in the sand. I get to choose how I feel about that. Because there's not just one way of looking at anything. You could look at that and say, something's gone terribly wrong. Life is unfair. Life sucks. I don't understand it. We all hurt. We die. We get sick. Well, like all that. But that's going to feel horrible. Or I could be like, you know what? My mom is actually doing okay. Like I might be over here suffering, but like day to day, moment to moment, she doesn't remember 20 minutes ago. Moment to moment, she's fine. She's like, I'm in this chair. There's some tea. Watching the show. Like, I have to work really hard to quiet my mind. You all have to work really damn hard to quiet your mind. She doesn't have to work hard at it. She's not actually suffering moment to moment. So I choose to look at it like that. So I want you to, if I had a want for you, it would be to start to live from a perspective of, I get to choose how I feel about this. I get to choose how I react to it. Yes, of course. And I get to choose how much I'm going to let it impact my life. And you could say, yeah, but Sharon, what about money? That's hard, factual stuff. And it is. And I know how to make money and I'll make more. Or you could be like, he took something from me. He was unfair. I should have gotten more. But you will feel very differently given both of those thoughts. And they're both true. They're both equally true. So whatever I focus on is going to expand so I can swim around in that I've been done wrong. And you have. And you have. But what can also be true is I'm kind of a badass. And I've created a lot of things in my life that a lot of people haven't been able to create. Money's just another one of those things that I know how to do that. Never lived under a bridge. Never wondered where my next meal is coming from. Like, I'll figure it out. I figured out a lot of hard things. So does the concept of like genuinely like caring about how you feel make sense to you? Does it feel selfish to you? Is it confusing? Talk to me.
I completely understand it. And yes, it makes sense. And I've somewhat already gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
Like to some degree, I've gotten out of, well, it's so complicated. I mean, to bring it up to speed a bit, I have made a decision to not litigate. I mean, I've retained a forensic CPA. My attorney is ready to go. And then I thought, oh my gosh, do I want to spend a year litigating against him? And then to potentially get a judgment that he can't pay anyway? Like, do I really want to do that? So I have revisited some of your information and brought more of like, I'm just going to say kind of a calm to myself, and have reached out to him to come to an agreement.
Yep.
But there are times that I feel pretty good. Like, and then there's still the other, well, there's two things that creep in. One is, I think because I was such a fast moving train in getting out of California, creating a new place to live, moving back and forth, all this stuff, that it's really been the last month or so, I would say I'm grieving the relationship.
Okay.
Which has been a little surprising. I'm not one to have a pity party. I don't go there, but at the same time, it's a really big loss. And he and I still to this day are very good parents together. Like, I'll give him that in a heartbeat. Like, we will always be good parents together is what I believe.
That's awesome.
But that at the same time, based on everything I discovered, I don't trust him and I don't believe him. So that there's weird feelings that creep in. For example, like, I'm supposed to talk to him right after we finish this.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so it's, yesterday I spoke to him as well. And I, on the feeling frontier to really get back to what I think you're asking me, I had been for a while really worried about being above board and doing the right thing and looking myself in the mirror when this is all done and some of that kind of stuff. But then there's being authentic. So the authenticity came in a little more yesterday in the conversation. For example, he wants to use his attorney to write up a divorce agreement. And I consented to that until yesterday. He called and said to me, well, my attorney won't do it. Because I told him, I said, you can have him write it up and then you send it to me because I want to read it. I don't want to pay my attorney to read it if I don't agree with it.
Right.
So he said, well, my attorney said, because he's my attorney of record, he can't do that. He has to send it directly to your attorney. And I said, well, that's something you did. My attorney is not my attorney of record. She's my consulting attorney. So I'm not willing to do that. Do not send it to her. So let's go back to mediation and do it that way. And he started pushing. And so I said, look, your attorney, and this is what happened in December, for those of you that don't know, I said, your attorney sent me a 12-page, very slanderous, unbelievable document. And I said, I don't trust him or you. So I'm unwilling to work with him. So we need to go back to mediation and do it that way. It's not an option to do it with your attorney anymore.
Yeah. We thought that was an option. Now we hit a roadblock. Now it's not an option. Yeah. Good for you.
And I don't feel good about it. Like, I really don't. I seriously don't trust him. I don't believe what he's going to do. And I'm not going to spend the money to have him send it to my attorney. And it costs me, whatever for her to read what I don't agree to anyway.
Right. And I think you should trust your gut on that. And I think you should feel good about how you handle that. Like, you've walked through the fire really beautifully and given him a lot of grace. So there's a couple things that I think. So first of all, when you feel, the whole, like, how you feel, like, you choosing to not go through litigation for a year is choosing you. It really is. Like, so what we were talking about of like caring about how you feel, lots of people would feel right and justified and they would do that, but they would suffer for a solid year or more. And you're saying that's not worth it to me. That is too high of a cost that I'm not willing to pay, and that I'm never even going to get paid out on anyway. So Like that doesn't even make sense. So beautiful. Anger is like a divorce is a loss. You go through the stages of grief. Anger is one of those stages. It's not like it's off limits. Like, no, the mature person never feels anger. That's bullshit. A little self-righteous anger motivates us, helps us take action that supports us, that honors us. And that's what you did in that moment. Like, look, I don't trust your lawyer. We're not going to do it that way. We thought we could. We hit a roadblock. We're not doing it that way anymore. And even if it was said with some anger, there's nothing wrong. Like that whole emotional chart. I know we've been taught like all the good feeling stuff is good and available to you, but all the stuff that feels bad or that makes other people uncomfortable, no, you should never feel that. That's a bunch of horseshit. Right? Like there's nothing wrong with a little bit of anger. There's also nothing wrong with grieving the loss of a marriage. I think that that's perfectly rational. So give yourself the space, the ability to do that without judgment of yourself. Because it doesn't mean you're having a pity party just because you feel grief, right? I don't know what would constitute a pity party, but give yourself a time limit. Like, if I feel bad for a day, is that a pity party? Now, maybe a month, a year. Like, okay, now we might have to have a conversation, but like a day, an hour, a few, like whatever it is, like tap into like, here's what I need. Here's what's happening for me right now. And sometimes I'll just give it, like I'll put the parameters around it. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to feel this shit for a day. And then tomorrow we're done. I'm moving on to whatever is next, the next feeling. But today I'm willing to sort of sit in the shit of it for a day and feel it. And then it usually passes. So you can put guardrails around it. It can be 20 minutes. It can be a day. It can be 3 days, whatever. A pity party would be like, I'm just going to feel this until some new feeling randomly comes along, right? That's not taking control of your experience. It's reacting to your experience and hoping something will magically change, which I know you don't do. So one more thing, and it might be too early for this, but maybe not, because you actually have some compassion where a lot of people would only have rage and anger. It helps me if I can see the wound. I get less angry with bad behavior from people when I can see their wound. You know, like, so if you can see past the behavior and how it's impacting you, and you can see the wound of what's causing, like, because like what would cause a man to do what he did to his wife, to his family? What would cause that? There's something going on within him that is pretty deeply wounded. And if you can see the wound, you can get to a place of compassion quicker. And then I find that compassion feels marginally better than being pissed off. It might be too early for that. You might want to keep being pissed off for a little bit, but at some point, reach for the compassion.
I have moments of what you're talking about when it's not around the financial betrayal. Mm-hmm. Because that was, when we first started into all of this, of course it was I'm an open book, and he came to the table with like these huge stacks of paper and, here's all our financials, yada, yada, yada. And, I've done a brilliant job of beating myself up for not paying attention because I just completely trusted him. And he's also in commercial real estate. And most of this was done by leveraging our house and refinancing and things. And so I totally trusted him, and I would just sign the papers and all of that. So, it took me going down these rabbit holes of discovery. And so I still find that I have a lot of feeling around that while I am aware of, it's like I go back to our couples therapy, and the last session I had, which was an individual one with the couples therapist, which was with his permission. But I mean, she basically explained to me that he's a complete and total narcissist. And it was like, oh my, like, I just never saw it. And then my individual therapist has said the same, and it all makes sense now. And I don't like throwing around shrink terms, but it's pretty true. And given that a personality disorder, you're not going to get healed. So he is wounded. I just think it's going to take me some time because of the level of betrayal and how much I trusted him and was in love with him and all that it's just going to take some time. But I mean, our daughter's getting married October 2nd. So like, I'd really like to at least be a little better in getting there?
Well, see when it feels like you can, and it's not, there's no there, right? Like it may be like one day you can get a whiff of compassion for waking up. Because like, even if you think about, once you slap a label like narcissism on someone, it's really easy to just write them off. And I understand why. But knowing some narcissists that I do, I don't not care about them anymore. I actually, I wish them well. I just know that like their life experience is always going to be very, very tumultuous, very, very difficult. And they're going to hurt a lot of people. And I just know that hurting other people will never feel good. So therefore, you're going to move through your life never feeling good.
Yeah, which is, when you look at, he held this secret since 2007, right? So what a burden, in a lot of ways, and through refis and various things. He told me that this account that he had written off of was taken away in 2008 with the economic downturn. So, I mean, but he's a person. I mean, my sister has been like, oh my gosh. I mean, his brand is integrity and everybody loves this guy and he's very extroverted.
It's all a facade. It always is. Yeah. Like, and so I can go, don't have anything to do with that. Not interested in being in relationship with that even. And I don't want to be that, because you wouldn't trade shoes with him for $1 million, would you?
No, because here's this, and here's where I do have compassion. He's 66 years old. Mm-hmm. He's worked really hard. Mm-hmm. Our whole marriage, mostly been the primary breadwinner. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to have hardly anything, which is crazy because of what he did.
Yeah.
And that's partly where I just came to, and to get back to the litigation thing. I mean, I really didn't think from a health perspective, mental and physical, I wanted to go through it. I literally made a choice. It's like, okay, I'll just settle and I'll, like you said, I'll be okay because I'm not in his situation.
Right. Like you wouldn't trade places with him. So you might, like, some days there might be a whiff of like, okay, I can feel a little bit of compassion. Other days there might be more. Other days there might not be any. So there's no like, you get to some place where all you feel is compassion.
Well, I don't think that would be good anyway, truthfully, because I need to continue to take care of myself in relation with him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just, in the spirit of when you care about how you feel, there will be those times that you'll want to reach for the thoughts that help to bring you to a softer feeling than just being so wronged and betrayed in so many ways.
Yeah. And how can I best conduct myself moving forward in that, like exactly what you're saying. And I mean, I typically in my life have no problem being incredibly direct and straightforward. Mm-hmm. And I need to remember that this is a good place for that.
It is. Yep. It's always a good place for that. But here it's necessary.
Yeah. And it's taken me a while to get there. I mean, in December with this document from his attorney, I mean, it knocked me sideways because it's the last thing I expected. Yeah. So that took me some time. I mean, honestly, my boundary for myself in that, because we did a Zoom with our attorneys. I literally didn't say anything. And I told my attorney, like, you deal with it. And then eventually when it got icky enough, I said, okay, put us into separate chat rooms. I'm done. And that's really, I just had to draw those limits for myself. But now I feel a little more able to stand up.
You're a badass. You just are.
Thank you. I mean, it's just a crazy, who would have ever thought, like I literally had no idea when I started discovering these things and these bombs, these explosions in my head late at night, going through all this stuff was, I mean, he leveraged our house and all of our retirement.
But think about, like, that would make a lot of people take to their bed and never get out. You know what I mean? Like, you've moved through a lot of it. It's not like it's all settled. But I mean, there's a lot of people that couldn't recover and even have a conversation with me about finding compassion for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I say you're a badass. It's just like, this is hard stuff. And it feels to me like you're more than halfway through it, though. Even I don't know what the time frame is and all that, but it feels like the shock and awe of finding out about all this and all that, like that had to be so much harder. And now it's like, and now we've just got decisions to make on how to move through this. And you can do that. You've done all this. I promise you, you can do that.
Finding clarity in your relationship is one of the most important journeys you'll ever take, and you don't have to do it alone. If you're ready for support and guidance, apply for a truth and clarity session. You'll speak with a member of my team who will help you explore your situation and see if working together is the right next step for you. Visit clarityformymarriage.com to apply now. We'd love to support you on this journey.